Hey y'all, so I'm outside because it's like 70 degrees and I like that kind of weather. Even though it's raining, I'm happy with it being all wet and damp and all that stuff. Anyway, point being, I'm outside, and outside I shall bring you Mindfulness Month, Day 6. So, the moment is not about you. This is my basic point here. One of the things that I really related to, or that really resonated with me when I started listening to Michael Singer, was his explanation of the moment. And the way he does it, especially goes into it most, that's my notes I'm putting in my back pocket. He goes into it sort of most heavily that I've heard in his series called Surrender, Living from a Place of Surrender. And that's on Audible, available on Audible. It's really good. Anyway, point being, the way he does it is he starts with the Big Bang. And he goes into how the Big Bang happens, and then after hundreds of thousands of years, hydrogen atoms start forming, and then those hydrogen atoms come together, and it's just, he goes like, then the stars are formed, and like he goes through all this stuff down to like scientifically what had to happen for the Earth to come into being, right? And then what had to happen on Earth for this moment to happen, which is every single thing that came before it. So when you look at the moment itself has very little to do with you, if anything at all. There are moments happening in every place in the galaxy or the universe, really, right? There are always moments there and here, and they are a result of the stuff that came before. For instance, one of the examples he uses, which was really cool, was the idea that, okay, I think he's in northern Florida. He's in Florida, and he's like, okay, millions of years ago, a dinosaur. It was raining, and a dinosaur stepped here, and he left a huge footprint, and the rainwater collected in it, and it kept collecting in it, and eventually it formed a lake. And at this lake, there was a Native American settlement, and then when the colonizers arrived, they had a settlement there. And then because those two settlements are there, two people met, and those were your great-great-grandparents, and they got together, and then, because of that, you exist. There are a million, and that's a big one, right? Like, there are a million tiny things that go into the moment, and that's just true, not just of you, but of everyone. So the moment is not about you. It's very impersonal, and it can be hard to see that because the moment in front of us is all we know. And in general, we either like it or don't. We're lucky that sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, this is what's going on, but we have preferences, and preferences can really screw us up. Preferences come from all the moments we've had in our lives. Basically our past experiences, right? The information we have in there, the experiences we have in there, it's like a computer. It calculates it all up and spits it out. And that's how we're feeling. So when we encounter a moment that where we have an emotional reaction, we have an emotional reaction based on, do I have a good experience of this? Do I have good knowledge of this? Do I have no knowledge of this? Do I have a bad experience with this? Do I know people who hate this? Do I know people who love this? Like, all kinds of things that are in your head go into your reaction to the moment, but you're reacting to the moment like it has something to do with you. Even if you're like in a fight with somebody, like in that moment, really very little to do with you. There's that person's background, why they're feeling the way they are. All the moments that led up to the moment right in front of that person. Sorry, I just got a little distracted. So even then, like, very little has to do with you. So you're there in whatever moment you're a part of, you're experiencing in the moment. and you're judging it based on your past experiences, which have nothing to do with the moment. So an example of this would be, if you have watched some of the videos from a few years ago, you'll know that I had a breakup with a guy who, you know, we were in love, but we had to break up because of his family. Long story, won't go into it, but it was, I just totally lost my train of thought. It was a result. It was a result of, you know, his family's history and blah, blah, his mother and all this. So the breakup didn't really have to do with me at all. But, you know, it was hard not to take it personally. It was done very well. It was very beautiful, but it still hurt, right? And, I just had it again. I didn't like it. Is basically the point, right? I didn't like this entire period of my life. It was hurting and I didn't like it. I didn't like the decision that had to be made, and it did have to be made. It was the only decision that could be made that made sense. Still didn't like it, right? And the thing about that, though, is the only thing that made that bad, that moment bad, is that I didn't like it. That's the only thing that made that moment a bad thing. My emotional reaction, which, while yes, important, at the end of the day, isn't that important. One of the things I just started listening to Michael Singer, and the idea there that really helped me was like, there's nothing actually wrong with what happened at all, other than I don't like it. You know? Okay, I don't like it. Well, that's my problem. You know, this moment that came up, I don't like. It's kind of silly to say that it should be one way or it should be another based on my preferences, because from the Big Bang on, every single thing that happened in the exact way it happened, and now this moment is important not to bring this moment, but so that in such a way that moment is what it is, right? Nothing to do with me. I mean, it has to do with the way the culture is over in the Middle East or in there, you know what I mean? Like in the woman, his mother's experiences in the past. I mean, it had nothing to do with me. I just didn't like it. But who am I to say I don't like it? It shouldn't be that way. Because that's just my preference. That's really, honestly, like it really hit home for me. Like, okay, all right, well, this is a moment I don't like, I'm not enjoying, but it's not that it shouldn't be that way. And that gave a lot of relief to me. Like, okay, I don't like it, but it's not that it shouldn't be this way. The only reason I feel like it shouldn't be this way is because I don't like it. Like, that's it. And I don't like it because of whatever. The thing is, if we wait to be happy in the moment for when the moment presents to us the exact way we want it, which when you think about it, is a collection of everything that you've experienced in your life and a calculation of that, putting that on the moment, saying that that's what it should be, is a silly thing to do. Right? I mean, it's just, in the grand scheme of things, that's a silly thing to do because it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. You have nothing, everything else in the history of the cosmos is what it has to do with. So saying that you, based on your preferences, which are based on your past experiences and your knowledge and whatever, the stuff that's going on inside your head, saying that that's the way it should be is silly. And if you recognize that, when you recognize that, there's a relief there. There's a, okay, so the problem is not with what's happening, it's my reaction to it, right? So, I have my notes in my back pocket, but I'm not gonna, so, I lost my train of thought. It's gonna come back in a minute, though. It's just pulling to the station. preferences. It's silly to think that it should be the way we want it to be. If we wait for that moment to be what we want it to be happy, we're never going to be happy. Right? Because number one, as we discussed yesterday, this is the only moment this is the only thing that's actually real. This is the only place in which you actually exist. And where you can make changes and where you're actually feeling something. Because the rest of it is all constructs in our minds, our memories, or our hopes or fears about the future. And if we wait for that, we're never going to be happy. So we have to find ways to be happy in the moment, regardless whether or not our preferences say it's good or bad. And this involves detaching from your attachments, detaching, and viewing things objectively, non-judgmentally, accepting them as they are, which can be so hard. But when you see that it's impersonal, has nothing to do with you, it is a good step on the way to accepting that this is just what's there, and that's okay. Even if I don't like it, even if it's something that's, bad in the sense of like harming people, you have to accept that that's what's going on in this moment, because you can't act accordingly if you're not accepting what's actually going on. And if you're not accepting what's going on, you're having a big emotional reaction and you react out of that. The next moments aren't going to be great either. So that's kind of really where I think I wanted to wind up. Let me just look at my notes. Make sure I got all the way to where I wanted to go. Accepting, appreciating. Yeah. So the moment not only includes everything that's going on outside, it includes what's going on inside. So you're accepting not only exteriorly the situation, you're accepting your thoughts and your feelings about it. You're not divorcing yourself. You're not saying, again, you're being not judgmental about your thoughts and your feelings. They're there. Don't try to make them not be there, because that's where they are. And that's what's happening. Whether or not you want it to be, whether or not you're trying to push it away, just allow the thoughts and feelings, accept that that's what they are. And as Michael Singer says, lean away. That's still something I'm kind of figuring out. But that's the moment. And it has nothing to do with you. And I am grateful for that fact. And I'm going to remind you that even if what's going around you don't like it, you can always choose to have a grateful moment.